Explosive story in ESPN, an investigative piece by Baxter Holmes. The title is this: Allegations of Racism and Misogyny Within the Phoenix Suns. Inside Robert Sarver's 17-year tenure as an owner. And it starts out, and Earl Watson, former player, former coach of the Phoenix Suns, spoke on the record. And it starts out with a story in which Robert Sarver storms into the coach's locker room after a game against Golden State. And Draymond Green, I guess, was on the court saying the N-word. And Sarver, in basically going to Earl, like, why can Draymond say the N-word? But according to this story, Sarver was saying the word. He didn't say N-word. He was saying the word.
He was actually saying it. Correct.
Right. And Watson's telling him, yo, you can't say that. And he's just adamant about, well, why can Draymond, obviously who's black, say it? And he's saying the word, and I can't say blank.
Right.
And Rob, the first thing that struck me, and you know, I'm an African American that wishes we as African Americans would not refer to one another as the N-word.
And let me say this: I am an African American, like Chris Broussard, who understand it and don't have. I might not use it, Chris, but I don't have an issue with other people, okay? So I might not use that word personally like that or throw it around like that, but I don't have a thing where we have to not say it at all. I'm not in that case.
Yeah, I'm not getting, look, like I said, I understand there's a difference when blacks use it and when whites use it.
Yes.
We all have, I got family members, good friends that use it. All right, and I'm not storming out of the room offended when they, I get it. I don't use it. I wish we wouldn't use it. I don't think we should use it.
Right.
But there is a clear difference when black people use it and when white people use it.
Period.
And so,
and you don't need to understand. I mean, period. It just
and it ain't hard to understand.
Right.
And the Ta-Nehisi coach makes a great example where he says, "Look, I can call my wife honey, and you can't."
Right.
Is that such a problem? Or you can't call my wife honey. I can. What's the issue? You don't get adamant about that. So my thing is,
right. I want to call her honey. I want to call her honey. Like right. You would get into an argument with the husband, right?
Right. Like whenever a white person is adamant about, well, if you can use it, we should be able to use it. Why are you so adamant about wanting to use the N-word? And so that's the first thing that struck me, Rob. And it just sounds like a power-hungry billionaire who's used to getting his way and doing whatever he wants and feels like there's nothing he can't say or do, and he was bothered by it. But go ahead. I know there's plenty more.
I was going to say, I was struck by this, just the people on the record, the stories, Chris. It's numerous, and it's bad. It's a bad look from the standpoint of, you just said it, Earl Watson's on the record. This is on the record. That's strong material. And Earl Watson, sent out a statement, Chris,
right,
about it and talked about the courage of all the other people. And he's been afforded in life because he's made a certain amount of money that he can say whatever he wants and not feel like, if I work in the public relations office of the Suns, Chris, and I say something, I'm out of my $75,000 a year job, right? And I'm screwed. Right. So those people are the people who often feel helpless, and they can't speak their minds and be honest on what the environment's like, how I'm being treated, how I feel when this guy comes around. So it's courageous of a guy like Earl Watson, who's still in the NBA, who's an assistant coach with the Toronto Raptors, to be honest and stand up and say, I lived this, and I'm reliving it, and it doesn't feel good.
Right.
And other people. We're going to have Lindsey Hunter at the bottom of the hour, Chris, who was mentioned in the article and was an interim head coach for the Suns as well, just to get some insight to working in that organization. I think he's a good guest in that situation.
Have you talked to him?
Yeah, I have. So I talked to him earlier.
I mean, I guess we'll get his general feelings on the story.
We'll leave that for Lindsey, but yeah, I talked to him earlier.
Look, I believe race is a very unique situation in this country because that's been the general narrative in this country is race. White oppression of blacks and other people of color, and particularly blacks and Native Americans. But that's the overriding narrative of our country. And I am surprised. I mean, if this story is true, the brazenness of Sarver using it, right? Like if he hiring Lindsey Hunter, reportedly, according to this story, he said to somebody, those N-words, and he said the word, those blanks need a blank. That's why he wanted Lindsey Hunter over Dan Marley, who's white.
And if Dan Marley is a
somebody to say
figure.
That,
yeah,
right,
to even put
ridiculous.
That out there, right? Absolutely.
And that is one thing, Rob. This is where diversity is so important, and we need more owners of color. We need more executives of color. These are examples of why.
Hey, Chris, not only there, but right here on Fox Sports Radio. You can't have a sports radio network where everybody's 50-year-old white guys with the same point of view.
Right.
Let's be real. Let's keep it real.
Right.
Ain't nobody else doing what Chris and I are doing on the airwaves. We're doing it.
And they can't talk about it from this perspective.
They can't. You can listen to all the other shows you want. I'm telling you, we live it every day. We have insight. This is why you need diversity to hear the other side, Chris.
Right.
And because Chris and I don't agree on everything.
This stuff I do not believe. Now, again, maybe his brazenness to say that in front of his black coach or other, employees, that could be unique to Sarver. But Rob, I am not naive enough to believe that stuff that's racially insensitive at the least, at best, right? That's racially insensitive, isn't said. And I would argue probably when owners are together by themselves or we had a caller call up and say, white people say this stuff all the time to each other.
Right.
And obviously not all, but a good number he was saying. I think this goes on. And you can root it out several ways. One is, as you said, you got to get more diversity in there and people able to tell the other side of the story. And it just needs to be known. And this goes for the misogyny as well. Because that's Rob. I mean, in male settings, this stuff goes on. You know me. I don't use this language. I don't talk about women that way. But it goes on all the time. We use the term locker room talk. That's real. But now you got women, so to speak, in the locker room, so to speak. And they're offended. And I get it, because if my daughter is in some of these environments, I'd be like, I don't want them in that environment. When you're men, you don't think about it. Oh, you told a dirty joke. You said that. But if a woman's in that environment, she could be offended. And so it almost, Rob, there's like there needs to be a reset. One, we got to improve the diversity. But two, there needs to be almost a reset. These things cannot no longer be joked about, talked about, whatever. And it's because for so long that's gone on. And Robert Sarver, it looks like a jerk. I only know him from talking to him on the phone several times here and there. I don't know that, but he looks like a jerk here. He had a reputation in the league as a cheap guy, as a jerk.
Right.
All right. But there's nothing against the law against being a jerk.
Right. And let me say this, Chris, you brought up about the woman aspect of it. This is a true story. In the 80s, Chris, at the Daily News where I worked, at the time, the Daily News was the largest circulating paper in the country. And the sports desk at night was all guys, Chris, right? Editing the copy.
Yep.
and there was the TV set that was up in the corner. Guess what was on at night after midnight? No,
I don't know the exact name of the show, but I'm sure
it was called Midnight Blue on cable. It was like a soft porn channel that ran during work time.
Right.
And then what happened were women who worked in the news section, Chris, and other places across the room, there was like a private office. It's an open office space. They started to complain, and that's the only reason it came off. But that's what went on.
Right.
Nobody even thought about it. They could watch soft porn at work.
Right.
This is what we're talking about. These things all have to change. And I believe, Chris, that he will no longer be the owner, Sarver, of the Phoenix Suns. That the NBA will do its own investigation, and this will be just like what happened with the Clippers and Donald Sterling. That they will deem him not fit to be an owner. And remember, it's a privilege and a club because you got to be voted in. It ain't just whoever has the most money.
Right.
Because you could ask Donald Trump that. He tried to buy an NFL team. Chris, he tried to buy the Buffalo Bills. They didn't want anything to do with him as far as ownership. So it ain't just about, if I have enough money, I should be able to do what I want. No, it ain't like that. It's a club.
Right. There's a scene in the show Billions, Rob, that's really powerful. When the star of the show, Bobby Axelrod, is trying to buy a football team. And one of the owners is like, doesn't like him and doesn't let him buy it. And he says, buying a football team is how we knight people in this country.
Wow.
Knight.
Right.
And you're not knight material, like something to that effect, right? So you're right. And look, if what you're saying happens and comes to pass, look, don't feel sorry for Robert Sarver. Robert Sarver will come. He's going to make billions.
He'll make his money
off of this. Donald Sterling, they took the team away from Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling paid, I believe it was $12 million
and he got,
for the LA Clippers and sold it for $2.1 billion. So save your tears. All right? Save your tears. Your turn to weigh in on the Robert Sarver ownership situation with the Phoenix Suns.
All right, let's kick it off with Sean in Sacramento. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Sean?
My uncle's from another mother. My brother's behind the board, man. You know I'm counting down, Big Rob. I need to know which Kings game you going to, bro. Because, you know, we got the welcome committee and the red carpet already lined up, bro.
I'm going to Saturday, November 20th. That's when I'm going to that game. I think it's against Utah. And so I'm coming in early enough we could get together for lunch. And we'll have lunch and get some wings, okay?
Sounds good, Big Rob. Hey, if you can't find me, man, just look behind the Kings bench. You know how we do out here.
Yeah,
now, I don't know if you got like a press box or if you're sitting in them nosebleeds, but just look for me up front. My take real quick, fellas, is as much as I hate to say it, I don't think this is comparable to the Sterling situation, man. Sterling had all that other stuff going on with his attendance at the apartments, all kind of scandalous stuff. And
that's not what got him to lose the team. It's that we heard on tape for ourselves that he used the N-word. That's what got him. That stuff about the apartments, Chris, you know this. The NBA knew all about that. That had been going on for a long time.
He had been in court over stuff like that.
Yes, it was until you heard the actual tape. If his side piece, Chris, would have said he said it, and it was a story written about it and quoted her, they would say she's a scorned side piece and you can't believe it. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't hear it. And once you heard it from his own mouth, that's what got him pushed out of the league.
Here's the thing, too. We can't confuse this with a crime or that he's going to go to jail or something. Like, all he's going to do is if the NBA is like, this is not a good look for our league, which is 75% African-American. It's just not a good look, and you just can't be an owner. You can still live your life and be rich, and you're going to get rich off selling this team.
You're going to get, right.
But we can't, nobody's saying he's got to go to jail and all that stuff. But it will come down to whether or not the league is like, look, we just can't have this. as an owner, you doing these things, using the N-word around in your facility.
Right.
And then other things, there were sexual innuendos.
Showing pictures of his wife and talking about their sexual escapades, Chris, just all inappropriate stuff.
Because remember the owner in Carolina in the NFL. Now, he was actually, I think, having, wasn't he having women massage him and stuff like that?
But he was forced to sell.
Somewhat similar, right? He was forced to sell. So that's the thing. We got it. Nobody's saying this is criminal activity or anything like that. It's just, is it a good look or even a look you can live with if you're the NBA, right? And that's what's going to determine this.
Let's go to Jay in Fresno. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Jay? Oh, Judy in Frisco. Judy, what's up?
Oh, hi, guys. This is Judy, and I just want to say I really love the show. I follow you guys on Twitter. I watch Chris Broussard early in the morning. First things first, I've ordered some of your guys' merch. I just really, really love you guys and support the show.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Means a lot.
I wanted to say that I side with Chris on the whole use of the N-word. I wish that it was just abolished from the English language altogether. But I do have a freshman son, and, I tell him, you better tell your friends that that word will not be used in this house if they want to come back.
Right.
And, and he said, Mom, they're not saying it with the hard R. With the hard R, who cares? I don't care, hard R, the A. It just does not use. And you know what he told me? He said, I sound like a Karen. I wanted to bust him upside the head.
Sound like a Karen.
Yeah, that hard R ain't
we know the hard R ain't happening. But Judy, I get your point, and like I said, I respect if Chris doesn't want to have that in his vocabulary. I've worked around, Chris, newsrooms with different people from all walks of life for 35 years in this business. Nobody has thrown that word around in my presence, not even off the cuff. Or just in a radio studio with somebody, or in a private moment.
Certainly whites aren't going to.
Right, but I'm saying, sometimes white people feel comfortable and think that they could just slip it in or say it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I think that they understand that is not something I
think she's talking about African Americans.
Yeah. So.
All
we have time to squeeze it in or no?
Yeah, we got to get to Lindsay. Okay. All right, let's get to Lindsay Hunter. Lindsay, how are you, man?
What's up?
Good, fellas. How y'all doing?
We are great. Good to hear from you, man. Let's get right to it. Obviously, you were the interim head coach of the Phoenix Suns under Robert Sarver's ownership, and you were mentioned prominently in this story. What were your thoughts when you read this story?
Well, I was surprised at first, but I wasn't. I mean, I was surprised to hear my name in the story, but I wasn't surprised about, some of the things that go on behind closed doors in situations like that,
Lindsay, did you know that quote? Had you heard that before? That's what he said about why he wanted to hire you over Dan Marley to take over the team, that these N-words need an N-word? Did you know that?
No, I had no idea about that. Yeah, I was. That's the part I was surprised about. I had no idea, but it's something that we've come to know, to kind of expect, and who knows what you'll find if you go deep inside of a lot of these different owners and find out.
I agree. I don't think it's just So.
And the thing about it, they have. A bunch of their cronies that surround them that'll protect them forever. So, and they're just as guilty as the guy that's making these statements. So it's sad, but it's the reality of the world we live in as a black, not only athlete, but when you start to become a coach or an executive.
Lindsay, did you ever hear Sarver use the N-word, say the word?
Right, not the N-word.
And did you ever witness any racist behavior or actions while you were with the Suns?
Well, you guys know I've never heard him say it because you would have heard about it.
Hey, I've known Lindsay since he was drafted in the NBA, and that's correct.
So I've never heard him use that language around me. But, I talked to Lance Blanks, and Lance told me a story about him, and they had to correct him because he was using it in a meeting with the team.
See, and Lance
now
Blank,
I
for
heard
people
he
don't
used
know,
it in
Lance
rap
Blank,
song, like
Lance,
reciting a rap song or saying other players said it, so he would say the word.
Right. It was a lot of guys that it made them cringe and uncomfortable, and what do you do when a guy that the owner of the team you play for is saying, things like that, derogatory statements towards your race? What do you do?
And for people who don't know, Lance Blanks was the general manager there with the Suns.
Right. And how do all the people that worked for the organization feel now, knowing all these things?
Well, that's always the thing too, Lindsey, because I'm looking at it like there's no way he survives this once the NBA does its investigation. This isn't just anonymous quotes. Earl Watson is out front being quoted. This is not, Earl Watson is a current coach in the NBA. It's not like he don't have a job and he's bitter and he's trying to throw this guy under the bus because he got fired last week. This is a guy who's still around, and don't you think that adds credence, and we could have another Donald Sterling situation?
Oh, absolutely. And I read some of the quotes from Earl, and rightfully so. Earl had first-hand experience with him, using the word and trying to correct him and tell him you can't do that, So I mean, people that tolerate them, that put up with that, they should be held accountable as well.
There's some thought, Lindsey, that maybe the Suns players shouldn't take the court
tonight,
which obviously would force him. He'd have to sell if the players
do that.
To take the
Exactly.
court. If you were a player for the Suns right now, what would your action be?
Yeah, I think as a team, you talk to your peers and you find out how's everybody feeling. Is this something we want to do? And if it's something the group decides to do, then we do it.
But it could be that's the only way. Once players don't want to play for a guy when they find out, because that was with the Clippers. Remember they had wore the jerseys on, the warm-up jackets on backwards, and they were. I remember Doc didn't want to play, if I remember correctly.
Right.
I mean, they were really pissed off about the Donald Sterling, and I'm sure players, especially today, knowing what's going on, what we've seen over the last couple of years, and the reckoning. And I do believe he will no longer be owner of this team. I think he'll be forced to sell.
I would like to think that, Rob, but we've seen things happen in our country that we didn't expect to happen. We've seen people be in power that we would have never dreamed about.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
So for something like this to go on and him get a slap on the wrist, I wouldn't be shocked.
But see, Lindsey, the only reason I don't think
if the players refuse to play, he's gonna have to go.
Right.
They
have the power.
Not that you got to put it on the players, but they do have that power. There would be no choice. So, all right, man. Well, look, we're up against the gun, but we appreciate you giving us a few minutes on a very
and your insight,
serious topic, man. We thank you.
So, Lindsey, how crazy was your phone ringing off the hook when that story dropped on ESPN.com?
All day, man, all day.
Right.